The history of House Targaryen is filled with kings both wise and mad, cruel and kind. But one name stands apart for its sheer, deliberate self-destruction: Aegon IV Targaryen, known forever as Aegon the Unworthy. He wasn't mad like Aerys II, or a tyrant like Maegor. His destruction was born of decadence, gluttony, and pure, petty spite. His reign, though only 12 years long, released a poison that would bleed the 7 kingdoms for 5 generations. He is, quite simply, the king who broke the realm. Aegon IV's story is a tragic case study in how unchecked power corrupts a man who lacked the strength to rule even himself. As a young prince, Aegon was handsome, charming, and clever, possessing all the attributes of a great king. Yet, even in his youth, he was poisoned by raging jealousy. He resented being overshadowed by his renowned warrior brother, Aemon, and his conquering cousin, Daeron I. The moment he inherited the Iron Throne, this internal flaw was unshackled. His self-control vanished, he became a glutton and a hedonist, quickly trading his princely physique for morbid obesity. His will became the only law, and his only goal was validation through endless excess, earning him the simple, damning title, the Unworthy. But Aegon IV's rise to the Iron Throne was not through great destiny. It was an act of sheer misfortune for the realm, and pure luck for him. The line of succession was long, placing him behind his older cousins, the sons of his uncle, King Aegon III. However, the royal family was struck by a series of tragic, early deaths. First, King Aegon III's sons and eventual successors died without heirs. Then, Aegon IV's father, Viserys II, rose briefly to the throne and swiftly passed away himself. This chain of misfortune meant the crown kept falling down the line. Suddenly, and unexpectedly, the throne passed to Aegon IV, who was crowned king despite being distant in the line of succession. It was a fortunate twist for Aegon, but a catastrophic one for the realm. The kingdom was left with the Unworthy, who took the crown through sheer, destructive happenstance. Aegon's treatment of his own wife and sister, the frail and pious Queen Nyres, defines his personal cruelty. Gentle and pious, Nyres longed to be a scepter. After the difficult birth of their only trueborn son, Prince Daeron, Nyres nearly died and begged her husband for a separate life. Her plea: "I have done my duty by you, and given you an heir. I beg you, let us live henceforth as brother and sister." Aegon's reply was chillingly cruel: "That is what we are doing." He flatly refused her plea, forcing her to continue her wifely duties despite the risk to her life, all while publicly parading his endless rotation of mistresses at court. Aegon's greatest jealousy, however, was reserved for his younger brother, Sir Aemon the Dragon Knight. Aemon was everything Aegon was not: the gold standard of chivalry, devoted to his sacred vows, and the beloved protector of his sister queen, Nyres. Aegon was driven mad by this public contrast. He delighted in constantly slighting Aemon, culminating in one famous instance: he forbade Aemon from a tourney, only for the Dragon Knight to enter in disguise as the Knight of Tears, win the event, and then crown Nyres as the Queen of Love and Beauty. In return, Aegon weaponized the public's affection for the pair, constantly spreading the vile, unproven rumor that his own heir, Prince Daeron, was actually Aemon's bastard. This toxic relationship found its final, tragic contrast in Aemon's death. When 2 assassins sought bloody revenge for a knight Aegon had summarily executed, Aemon the Dragon Knight, the brother Aegon hated most, stepped between them and the king. Aemon killed the assassins, but was mortally wounded, dying with his sword in hand, upholding his sacred oath to protect the monarch, no matter how unworthy that king was. Aegon IV survived only because of the noblest sacrifice of the man he had tormented for decades, the Dragon Knight. Aegon IV would repay this sacrifice by intensifying his smear campaign, keeping the slander against Aemon and Nyres alive. Years later, on his own deathbed, morbidly obese, barely able to speak, the Unworthy committed his final, devastating act of malice. He legitimized all his bastards, including his favorite, Demon Waters. It was a final, venomous gift to the realm. Aegon the Unworthy is the king who died of his own greed and spite, but his legacy, the Blackfyre rebellions, were a plague of civil war that would bleed the 7 kingdoms for a century to come. This single most destructive act in the history of the Targaryen dynasty was Aegon the Unworthy's final, venomous, and spiteful decree, which directly caused the Blackfyre rebellions.